Welcome. It is Tuesday, July 24th, 2019. I'm Kai Kurosawa, and this is Office Hours, episode 2. Today we'll be talking about a lot about the left-hand pinky, how I use it to strum, play individual notes. Anyway, I had to call it something. I've been calling it pinky reporting for duty, reporting for duty. It's very similar to one-hand bass in that I am trying to do something that it usually takes two hands to do. So I'll explain all that for today. Today's episode, of course, is brought to you by Usaburo Kokeshi. Here is C3PO. Awesome. Hello, Brandon. How's it going? Thanks for joining. All right. Let's get right into it. So I don't know if you've seen some of my videos over the past maybe 2-3 years. I've been developing and getting a lot better at actually doing using my pinky to strum and also play chords and patterns with the pinky. Just to clarify what I mean about this pinky reporting for duty, it is basically doing something like this. So if I were to play, so what's happening right now is I'm playing a bass note with my thumb and I'm holding this very simple 3-note chord with the left hand, and I'm strumming that with the pinky. Yeah, I hope you can hear that. And that makes like a nice, B minor chord sound. So that's basically what I mean when I say it's strumming, how I'm strumming with the pinky. This particular part, it's kind of an intro to one of my tunes called Part.2. So you can hear that gets more of a guitar kind of a sound, which I actually like as well. Pinky for duty, yes. Yes, Charles, thank you. Snappy, as always. So what's happening is this very simple chord right here. Normally, if you are going to strum it, you have to do, right, with two hands. I mean, most people, strum down here, but then you can't see it today. So what I'm doing is holding that chord with the index, middle, and ring finger, and then I'm strumming that with my pinky right here. It gets a similar sound if you were to basically do that right there. Maybe it's not the greatest sound, but it's something I can do and make use of this instrument with all its strings. That's why I do it. Again, so here we go, we got... And if you can notice, I can throw in an upstroke as well. So what's happening there is I'm just having a fourth voicing, and then I'm tapping on to make that a nice little effect. And then eventually, for this tune, Part.2, I'm not going to play the whole thing today. I will link later the full performance that I put on YouTube from, I think, a couple of years ago. That's when I first did it. Oh, and by the way, this whole pinky strumming, I practiced it for about 8 years before I even did it in front of anybody. I believe I actually showed it to some people, and okay, to a degree I did do it a little bit, but that was very minimal what I did. It took, quite a bit of time to figure out, first of all, how to move it, and then how to be musical with it. So that was the intro. Right? And then there's a section coming up next, which is, it does this sort of a strumming pattern with some bass notes and sort of a melody on top. Very simple stuff. But let's see what's going on. Let's just play it really quick. So what's happening there is I am playing, again, the same chord, but playing a different bass note, playing the D. So now it's just, instead of an earlier B minor, now we got like a D major sound happening. See, same chord, just right, different bass note. So I'm playing a melody on top over here with the right hand. I am playing a bass notes with my thumb. over here, basically thinking more like a rhythm guitar, if you will. If I'm doing, I'll try to do it just this hand. It's basically doing a pattern like. Hope you can see that. So basically the pinky is just going down, up, down, up, down, up continuously. But sometimes I'm hitting the note and sometimes I'm actually not hitting the note. Like sometimes I'm holding the chord and sometimes I'm not holding the chord to get that rhythm guitar feel. And sometimes I will get like a muted note, more of a muted sound without. Hope that makes sense. I'm exaggerating a little bit right now, of course, but hope that, anyway, once again. And that actually works pretty nicely. It's almost like a three-part happening there, which I know a lot of the times we tend to think of this type of instrument to be playing two parts, and that is true with what I do a lot of the times too. However, I was really interested in trying to get like, you know, something like that where it's basically rhythm guitar, simple bass, and then a simple melody to sort of make up like an ensemble kind of part. Here it goes. So if you notice, now I'm playing, still playing the melody on top and then hitting bass notes. But now I am playing, I don't know if we can call these chords because there are only two notes, but the idea is they're chords. So when I'm moving them, just hitting them with the bass. So I guess technically that does make up a three note, so maybe it is a chord. The idea there is to basically be like that, still keeping with that three note pattern, or three-part pattern, basically. Yes, Evan, good question. Today I'm actually not using any pedals. Today I am actually just going straight into my It's Okay audio interface over here and just going completely mono. This instrument has it actually has four outputs, but three of them are the pickups right here. Shout out to Nordstrand pickups, of course. They're the NDC, the Kai Special, I think, or sort of something like that. And I'm going in mono mode today, so there's not too much happening in terms of the electronics, and it is passive. That's all that's happening today. I will definitely make sure to address the pedals I use on a later date. Thank you for the great question once again, Evan. Always very, very appreciated. Okay, so let's go back to this pinky reporting for duty once again. The original piece called Tenjin, which now that I think about it, I did write it in 2008. You know, it's quite different how I play it now, partially because I think I got better at playing, hopefully, and then partially because of developing the pinky, of course. Sometimes it's hard to just play sections when I'm so used to playing this tune, you know, through, and sometimes it's a little tricky when you have to just play one section. But anyway, so that part is basically, again, three parts happening, and this is the first tune that I wrote thinking that I wanted to do this kind of playing. Couldn't play it the way I play it now back then, but hopefully you can hear the three different parts again. So we got the melody on top with the right hand, right? Something like that. And then we got the bass part, very simple bass part, just. And then we got the strumming part, which is happening. Of course, this time I'm holding sort of a minor 7 chord shape. So we got what do we got here? We got a C sharp, G sharp, B, and an E on top. And then, of course, that makes a nice chord when I throw in the bass note as well. So I I think you can hear how I can actually get that, instead of just kind of getting that all in one kind of a sound, I can always get that like, you know, like how like very guitar player kind of a thing too. And hopefully you can hear that I can control the, or there's sort of an illusion of somewhat control of see right there, like I'm really like digging into that note right there just to switch it up, and that makes it a little more musical, I believe. So hopefully musically it makes sense to you too. So when I first wrote this thing, I couldn't obviously move my pinky the way I do now, nor I couldn't hold a chord. The first thing I did, and I still do this a little bit, and I should probably get back to doing this a little more, just because actually playing fourths is quite nice. You know, it's like a very nice nice voicing. That was the only thing I can first do when I started with this pinky strumming thing. For example, you know, something like that. This is from a ballad, but yeah, there we go. Anyway, so even right now, like I got a little tense, and if you're not relaxed with the hand, what ends up happening a lot of the times is actually you can pull off the string a little off of the fretboard, or you'll bend it too much, and then you'll end up getting like a not so of a pleasant sound, or you'll change the pitch a little too much. So you want to be very careful about this. So the only thing I was able to do was this, which if you want to try on your own, it is a little hard, or it's not hard, it's just weird. You have to be relaxed and also be able to strum with some control, or lack thereof, or wait a minute, the illusion of control. I'm getting all confused. We got the down and the up. Right? And now I got to the point where I'm actually pretty comfortable doing that. So it's actually not much of an effort as it used to be. The first time I wrote this, I believe I did something like, I don't know if I can even do that anymore. Yeah, something like that. It was very simple, you know, and it was always, I wasn't able to, you know, control it that way. I think it was always, you know, just like this kind of a big blur. And that's because, you know, my senses for my pinky haven't developed enough yet. Then I guess I was biting more than I can chew off. Is that the correct way to say that? I think that is. Anyway, that's where I really started with this whole thing, just trying to be able to control that and feel that. And that's probably why it took like 8 years before I even started doing it in front of people, because I would practice it, but then, you know, I wasn't getting the good results, or the results I wanted. And even now, I know it could be better. Let's just put it that way. But I'm comfortable enough that I'll do it in front of people. And sometimes, you know, playing in front of people or presenting it to somebody does teach you what you have to work on. So that's how I kind of go about it these days. This thing actually has an intro, and that part features some things that I don't really use these days much, which is basically strum with the you can see that I am strumming actually with the right hand, which I don't do this as much anymore, and I probably should go back to doing it once in a while. And that gives like a nice chord, and then you get the bass, and then I can play something on top. You know, it has a pretty nice sound actually. So, and more strumming. Yeah. Anyway, so that that's something that I developed, and it's cool, and I guess it's something that I have to do more in terms of, it's something that I have to have it more planned out when I do it, I guess. It's not just something I can pull out, say like if I'm reading a chart or something. And a lot of the things that I do and that interests me is that I am able to use it flexibly in many different situations. That's why I kept on developing strumming with the pinky, rather than keep on developing doing with the thumb and strumming. And as you can see, it's still very useful, and I can still do this pretty good to a degree. For now, the focus is a lot more on actually doing it all in one hand. So these days I'm doing things where I'm actually combining like regular tapping and then switching to strumming as well. Now, what that is, let's see. Let's go with, again, the toy part 2 example. I think my right hand might be out of the screen. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So what's happening here is I am actually, the first note is tapped. Right here I'm tapping, and then see how that works? So tap and then downstroke, upstroke. Combine that with the right hand. Yeah, and that actually works pretty good. I think that was one of the first things that I figured out that I can do, combining with the pinky, with the strumming and tapping. Say if I am playing something like, see what I'm doing there? I'm hitting that chord, or that chord, with first by tapping, and then I continue the rhythm by strumming that chord. And right now, of course, the right hand is doing one hand bass, and it's basically just keeping what are these? Probably eighth notes. Sloppy there. Oh yeah, and then right there I did a little bit of that, but I can go. So I'm actually hitting the individual notes going down, which works pretty nice. It is like, guitar players do that kind of thing often. So in a way, it's a little bit like imitating guitar players right there. And by the way, that's how I really hurt my hand in 2008. I figured I can actually hit the individual notes, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. So I just sat there doing that for like maybe an hour, maybe even longer straight, because I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to really develop this. And then what I developed was a bad case of tendonitis and buzzing, and that was very terrible. So if you're gonna try doing some of this strumming with the pinky, then I urge you, do not do it more than 3-5 minutes at a time. Take your hand off the fretboard, give it some rest, let it breathe, because there's no good reason for you to hurt it. And I really did. Like, I'm actually a vegetarian. I don't know if that's too relevant here. I bring that up because I eat a lot of tofu, and tofu is really easy to cut with your knife and stuff. But I was in pain cutting tofu in 2008 to like 2009 just because I really just hurt my hand, and that was terrible. Yes, Evan. Yeah, so it was basically, I hurt my hand because when I was so I think I'm pretty sure I was practicing this chord. So this is just a B flat, with a kind of a major with the 7 and the 9 and all that in there. And so, that's a very nice sound. But then I realized, I was like, oh wow, wait a minute. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat, right? So that is how I heard it, because I had my hand here with this shape the whole time for like an hour, and just went, and then when you're holding a chord, obviously you're putting strength in there the whole time, and then lo and behold, or no more holding, it just hurt, and I answered that, but I answered it again in more detail. Yes, it is gnarly. Are you talking about the technique or the injury? Well, they're both gnarly, so be careful. Everybody, please be careful when you practice your instrument. Just when I teach seminars and whatnot, one of the things that I always stress the most is to be relaxed. That's funny that I'm stressing to be relaxed. Anyway, let's go back to this switching between these chords. So, for example, I can keep doing that. If you don't like the sound of, right? Because, it's kind of like blah. Let's say you can do, that sounds pretty nice too, right? So what I'm doing is, I'm hitting root 5th, and then I'm holding the chord shape after that, and then strumming after that. Hope that makes sense. So you can switch on the downbeat at the same time, or you can switch, you can anticipate it. That was terrible. So, and then we go. Hope that makes sense. Oh yeah, and by the way, a new thing that I've been figuring out that I can do that will probably get a lot more mileage once I get even better at it is I can do kind of a downward strum. I haven't figured out the strength and the angle quite just yet, but I think when I do, I can consistently get something similar to a, right? Which would be really cool. So like say like I'm ending like a tune, right? Okay, so that was not but yeah, that was much better. See, getting actually all the notes in there somehow. Can't really explain how I do that. It's just something you gotta kind of think about it. Okay, I'm gonna downward strum and I'm gonna get that chord to ring. That's just how I think about it, and I just go for it, and it happens most of the time. And I think I might need to keep my nail a little longer on the pinky for this to work better. I don't know. That's something I'll have to figure out. Well, yeah, so examples of combining with actually different tapping techniques. A piece of mine called Across the Ocean. So let me see if I can remember that. Yeah, that's something like that. So we basically have, so that was what I was talking about earlier. So that's just hitting the chord, and then I'm throwing it, but then I'm kind of throwing this moving upward bass motion on the left hand, right? Hope that makes sense. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, right there, it actually features what I talked about doing the, holding a chord, strumming, and then root 5th, and then strumming. So I can play the same thing up here. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, just to point out something which I sometimes forget to point out, I am actually up here, or even here, or even, you know, when I was earlier doing this, I am only aiming and hitting the middle 4 strings of the treble or the 6-string side, because I think of this as 6, 5, and 4. Anyway, so this 6-string side, I'm only hitting, I hope you can hear that, just those 4 notes. I am not hitting, so it looks like I'm barring right here. Yes, it does look like I'm barring. So I am actually not hitting the top string. If anything, that's muted, so you don't get an actual pitch. It looks like I'm barring, but if I played that, then you get that note, which is a note that you do not want, or I do not want, at least in this context. So it takes a little bit of skill or a little bit of getting used to just aim for the strings you want. For example, if I'm only holding, let's say, 3 notes, and those 3 notes are, let's see, like, right? So I'm just doing, it's just a basic D minor, or D minor 7 amid the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Yeah, there we go, finally. See, so now in that case, I'm actually just hitting those 3 strings that I'm holding. That basically, it just comes with practice and patience, just like many things in life, of course. Terrible. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's some nice nice strummy sounds. You know, it's sometimes something that's missing a lot from instruments that are often played a lot with tapping, or well, let's just say I miss it if I'm only tapping, and that's why I developed these techniques. Yeah, so there we go. So that one combined, it's like a melody part that I'm playing. This is a famous Japanese pop tune that I actually really enjoy playing this tune on Kubo. It's let's see, just since we're kind of on the topic, I'm basically harmonizing the melody part with the 4 and the 6 over here. And that's all tapping, by the way. And then now we got the strumming right there, obviously. Oh yeah, and then this will be a subject for a later day, of course, but when I'm playing the melody, I'm actually playing with a muted sound, with a palm muted sound. Difference, hopefully this will come across. Right, regular sound, palm muted sound. Combine that with strumming. Strumming without mute sound, right? So I can either go like more of an open, non-muted sound, or I can go much more of a muted sound. Yeah, anyway. Hopefully that makes sense as well. it's something. It sounds nice, I think, and it sounds pretty musical. Not to try to pat myself on the back, but it's definitely helps musically. How's that? I think that's fair ground. Please do ask any questions that you have. I am more than happy to answer any of it. If not today, of course, at a later date. Of course, I've been with another great question. Asked me about the pedals I use. So I think that was the question. Yes, I will talk in more details about pedals. Maybe I will do that one in a separate video, just like a pedal video instead of like a live thing, because I think that'll just be me kind of geeking out over pedals, and we don't need to see that live, do we? Yeah, I don't think so. Once you get used to it, it's something that can be used to. You don't have to be always playing a pattern. You switch it around. I'm talking about the pinky strumming, pinky reporting for duty, hashtag. For example, this is another section from Tenji. So that sounds pretty okay, I think. You got your sort of melody happening, you got your bass notes, and you got the rhythm thing going on, and on 2 and 4, I think. Yes. Anyways, but maybe if I want to have that part interact with the melody part, say, right? That sounds pretty musical, I think. Right? So I'm just keeping that, but then, so we got. Botch that one for sure. Anyway, it's pretty useful to get like your smooth ending, as long as I don't botch the harmonics, of course. But you got that, and then you got, yeah, which is nice. Instead of just kind of going, which is nice too, of course. But if you want to go there, it's nice to have that option. Obviously, you can go, you can do it different ways by tapping, like. Right? That's another way to do it. And it's really up to you what you think sounds good. If let's just say I personally like, because that feels like, okay, ending. Plus you get kind of that strummy sound in there, which is nice. It's kind of an unexpected, or it's a different timbre. Even that part. You can hear that, obviously me hitting with the pinky gives it a completely different timbre than if I were to be tapping it. And then, of course, the bass side has a different timbre because, it's bass. Right? And then even in the first melody part. Yeah. And by the way, just for shits and giggles, can I say shit? Okay, anyway, just for S and giggles, if I were to actually not be super musical with my, not that I'm saying I'm super musical right now, just saying if I was even less musical with this, and if I'm holding and just, because that's basically what the pinky is doing. And I remember this was a big thing that I didn't understand for a while. I didn't understand, like, I could see, guitar players playing like this. And I thought, okay, so first I gotta develop so I can actually, do that all the time. And then I wasn't sure what was going on for maybe 2 years, but that was okay because I was still figuring out how to move my pinky. But then one time I actually asked a friend and said, okay, so what's actually going on when you're doing this strumming, or what the guitar players are doing? He's a guitarist named Hugo. And he said, well, sometimes you hold up your hand just to, get the muted sound, or you're not always hitting the strings, sometimes just on the up, sometimes on the down. And I thought to myself, oh, wow, that's actually, that makes sense. Why didn't I ask this like 2 years ago? Maybe it was almost like asking directions. Sometimes it's hard for us men to ask directions. Oh yeah, so if I was just strumming that the whole time, it's going to be a mess, right? Yeah, there we go. Kind of annoying, huh? It's just there the whole time. So, but like, if we try to be musical with it now. This is getting a little confusing for me. Okay, cool. Anyway, so enough of that one. So, yeah, well, I developed my strength slowly over the years after that. It took quite a while before I thought that my hand was starting to get healed, or even today, if I practice too much, or if I'm just frustrated or something, there'll be days where I'll feel my hands tired, or that I really should take a break. And by the way, I swim on a regular basis. I swim anywhere from 5 to 6 times a week, and that is obviously for exercise, but one of the main reasons for that is to loosen up the hands. It really helps loosen, the body, the whole muscles. And as you can see, I'm sitting down and doing this, but normally I actually stand up and play. That's like a big thing that I really enjoy, is actually standing up and play. That's like my thing right now. I used to sit down like 5-6 years ago a lot more, but these days I really enjoy playing standing up. And when it comes to kubo, I actually recently finally am learning how to play sitting down, because I've only had this for about a year. Thank you, Michael and Daniel. What was the question again? Oh yeah, so I've gotten good at relaxing the hand. I think that is the correct answer here. I got very good at relaxing the hand in between. So not only was the plucking or the lifting the finger up or lifting the hand up to get the mute sound, that was actually a good way to keep the hand from getting hurt. Because like I said earlier, like when I was practicing this first, I had this down the whole time, and I was really holding this, to the point where like I'll be like, you can see the stress or the strength in that, and that is not very healthy for your hand, at least. So I learned a good in between of how much strength to put and hold without really hurting my hand, without holding my hand. Yeah, I'll hold my own hand. Yeah, so now I've actually gotten comfortable with the strength of how much to do it, and plus the realizing that when my hand is tired, I should really give it a break. I think sometimes even now, like if I practice the pinky reporting for duty a little too much, then the next day I'll just try to lay off of that a little bit, because it's different muscles. It's almost like maybe at a gym, if you're into working out, you're not going to work out the same muscle every day. You want to split it up so it gives it time to heal. So chord held by you know what? Very good. I've actually never really tried that. I might not try it right now, but I think what you're saying is like maybe I can hold a chord with my right hand and then strum that with the left? Is that what you mean? Or that would be interesting. I think I will definitely make good use of that. If I come up with something cool with it, yes, I will definitely make sure to mention your name. And thank you for that question, and that is a very good suggestion. Some might even call that an answer. What have I not tried with the strumming thing? I have not tried holding or strumming what I'm holding with the right hand. So we will try that. Anyway, I think maybe the computer's overheating. It is very hot in California today. Hopefully everything worked out okay, and I really appreciate your time and joining me on the second episode. I hope this was enjoyable. It was definitely more enjoyable for me. Thank you again, and everybody else for watching, and some of the feedback, some of the thumbs up, all that I really appreciate. And of course, we have the Michael Tobias design Kubo. We have La Bella strings. We have Nordstrand pickups, Hipshot Products, the tuning and bridge and all that. We got our Kirlin cable. Love these cables. Do check them out. And yeah, I think next week I will probably talk still a little bit more about the pinky reporting for duty and the one hand bass, just because it is something that I'm developing, and I realize I hardly talked about one hand bass today, but that's okay because there was a lot to talk about the pinky. So about the pinky reporting for duty, hashtag pinky reporting for duty. Yeah, so next week, I think for a change, I would actually go back and talk about some of the more basic tapping stuff, which to me, it's sometimes it's a little less interesting for me these days, just because it's like a default that I do. But I would be happy to talk about it, and I hope you'll join me. And until next time, relax, don't hurt yourself. And yes, thank you. I bid you good night. This is Kai Kurosawa. This is Office Hours. And I am not traveling until October, so it looks like you'll be stuck with me for a little while. Thank you.